The All Blacks are on the wrong trajectory. That's what David Kirk said when announcing that Razer was going to be sacked as All Blacks coach. But was he right? Razer had a 74% winning percentage, but for me that's a bit too bland. I want to drill down a little bit deeper on the All Blacks numbers under Razer, take some of the emotion out of the situation. Let's have a look at the All Blacks attack. Were they scoring tries? Were they breaking the line? Were they getting good go forward? Were they defending? Or are they struggling compared to the rest of the teams around the world? We'll have a look at some of the stats and you guys can let us know your thoughts. The first one I want to bring to your attention is the first one I looked at because meters per carry is just a good kind of catch-all about generally how well a team is going forward. The higher your meters per carry count is, generally speaks to how well you are getting the ball forward. The All Blacks have generally been a pretty good team at getting the ball forward, which is why 2025 felt a bit off because there were times the All Blacks didn't seem to have that kind of usual cohesion about them. But what do the numbers say? Well, sadly, the numbers are not great. The meters per carry count has fallen off a cliff, in particular in 2025. Now, I will say globally, because I wanted to track the other Six Nations and Rugby Championship teams as well, the numbers generally have declined. Like back when this channel first started, the gold standard was kind of 4 meters a carry. If you were getting that, you were cutting teams to bits. Nowadays, it's probably closer to 3.5, I reckon, based on the data I've been having a look at. Everyone is generally trending a little bit lower, but the All Blacks, as I said, have fallen off a cliff in 2025. Back in Fozzie's day, and I wanted to have a look at 2022 because it's not a World Cup year where there's a bunch of mismatches. 2022, kind of standard year. Fozzie was doing all right in 2022. The All Blacks are kind of a top 3 side for meters per carry. Similar track to England and South Africa. But as things progress, 2024, the All Blacks are dipping a little bit, and then 2025, it falls off a cliff, 3.1. We are down there with the Wallabies, who had a pretty horrendous end of the season, with Wales, below Ireland. Remember, for a while, Ireland have been doing that kind of high recycle ball game, relentless phases, so their meters per carry count is naturally a bit low just due to playing style. Below Scotland, below France, below South Africa, below England, like drastically poor in the meters per carry count. Now, I know everyone's got different playing schedules. There's some mismatch games. Ireland play Portugal, put 100 points on them. Scotland play Tonga and whatnot. So everyone's got different playing schedules. But generally, the All Blacks shouldn't be going from being a top 3 of these 10 sides, top 3 in the world, to like second to last. That is, I guess, smoking gun number 1, that things were not happy in the All Blacks camp. Just if you felt like with your eyes the attack doesn't look right, the numbers would say yes. What you're seeing on the pitch is matched in the numbers. What about tries? Tries is an interesting one because if you look across the 3 years, 2022, 2024, and 2025, Fozzie, Razer, and she's pretty static. There's not a huge change. The number, the little line, it stays more or less in the same area on average tries scored per game. The trouble comes in when you add in all the other teams, and so many other teams have increased their try scoring count. Unlike meters per carry, which has kind of dipped as the teams have been using more phases to get go forward, the try counts have actually gone up, whereas the All Blacks are kind of there static. South Africa, through the roof. England, through the roof. Other teams, generally, even like Wales and whatnot, who were admittedly at a pretty low point, teams are tracking in the right direction, whereas the All Blacks are kind of a little bit more treading water. I don't think that looks quite as bad as the meters per carry numbers, but when you see how many tries some of the other teams are scoring, it's an interesting comparison. And then clean breaks is an interesting one under Razer because in his first year they had a massive spike. Now there are obviously some games which kind of blow out the numbers. I feel like it was the Fiji game and maybe the Japan game in 2024 where the All Blacks accumulated a bunch of clean breaks which bumped the numbers up. But I think generally the All Blacks were pretty good at busting the line in 2024. But again, it's a massive drop-off in 2025, which probably links to the try scoring and to the meters per carry as well. Whereas a lot of other teams, England, Wales, are kind of tracking in more the right direction. Not everybody. It's a bit more. It's a bit more of a mixed bag, the clean breaks one, but there's not kind of one real great attacking stat where you're like, man, these guys are cutting teams to bits and everything's looking hunky-dory from an All Blacks perspective. But I didn't just want to cherry pick kind of negative stats. There are some positives out there as well. Under Fozzie in 2022, the All Blacks did not miss a lot of tackles, among the best in the world for those numbers, and that trend has actually continued under Razer. Obviously, there's other games where it didn't happen. Like there was a capitulation in Wellington against the Springboks, but that was the exception rather than the rule. The All Blacks defensively generally don't fall off a lot of tackles. The missed tackle counts across the board have been trending up. So the All Blacks is one where you don't want to be going up because missed tackle count being higher is a bad stat. Some teams are tracking down, but generally across the board the numbers are up between now and 2022. But yeah, the All Blacks numbers are still globally looking pretty healthy. And I think, generally the All Blacks have got the team that they are behind is Scotland. I think the All Blacks have generally got a pretty tougher playing fixture list than the Scots. So they were playing the Box twice, and we didn't play quite the same opposition the Scots did. So those are four, which like the meters per carry one for me is the biggest smoking gun. The try count is a bit treading water. The clean breaks one is a big dip from 2024. So clearly the attack has had big old problems. But despite all that, I do think if the players were still on board, you don't get sacked losing 3 games. You can probably turn those numbers around. Fozzie obviously had a bit of a change in the back room and things started to improve. Razer might have been able to get that to happen, but if the players are not bought in, then it doesn't get a chance to happen. So there's improvement to be made. I know everyone talks about, the All Blacks need to accept the fact they're not the best team in the world anymore. Global rugby has improved since 2015 and everyone, has better depth. The All Blacks don't have the depth they used to have, all that kind of stuff. But still, despite all that, globally, a lot of teams have been improving in a lot of areas where the All Blacks have been treading water or declining. That would be my point. Even if the global game has improved, doesn't mean the All Blacks should be falling behind everyone else, if you know what I mean. So I think there's enough there for David Kirk to be justified. But as I said, if the players still backed him, I don't think it probably happens. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. What do you reckon? Do you think these numbers likewise back up what you saw on the field? Or do you think given a bit of time and maybe some backroom changes, Razer would have been able to get it right? We await the announcement of the next All Blacks coach. You guys take care, and yes, I will talk to you guys again soon. Subscribe if you liked all the stats. Take care. Bye-bye.